Hi everybody, this is Justin with Epic Game Time, and I'm bringing you a deck tech for Mono Red Burn in Standard. Now this is for all you red mages that want to get down with some burning. You like burn in Modern, you like burn in Legacy. Well, now you can go ahead and do the hat trick, and you can burn in Standard too. Here's how you do it. Let's go ahead and start out with the lands. We have 22 lands, 1 Gear Reach Sanatorium. Now it's all mountains, so your land base isn't going to cost much. This is tap, add a color to your mana pool. That doesn't really matter. The big thing is 2 tap, each player draws a card, then discards a card. That is huge. It lets you get through land flood. It lets you draw cards. It lets you discard your fiery tempers for some value. Also, maybe you need just the next 4 points of damage or 3 points. It helps you get to burn, any relevant burn. So let's go ahead and talk about our creature base. Well, Soulscar Mage is the first thing, and let's hit apply. No, not apply filters. Why am I doing that? Show preview pane. Soulscar Mage, 1 red prowess. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a creature an opponent controls, put that many -1/-1 counters on that creature instead. So what does that mean for us? Well, what that means is it makes our lightning axes essentially dismembers, so we can kill gods that are in Standard, all those indestructible gods, Bantu, Oterka, Hazaret, Ronus. You can kill them now with Soulscar Mages on the field. Plus it has prowess, so it's a really wonderful early beater, especially if your opponent doesn't have a fatal push right away. Then we have my favorite creature, well, my second, let's be honest, my second favorite creature in the deck, which is Thermo-Alchemist. 1 in a red, defender. Let's go ahead and hit the display panel again. There we go. Thermo-Alchemist deals 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap Thermo-Alchemist. So this is how you're going to get through a lot of your damage. If you have two of these on board, and you get to untap with them, and you start throwing spells, which our deck is chock full of, you are going to deal a lot of damage. I can usually get 4 to 6 extra damage off of just these things, and people tend to worry about your Soulscar Mages or your Hazarets or your Glorybringers or your Bedlam Revelers instead of these. So use that to your advantage, that your opponent will most likely undervalue how good Thermo-Alchemist actually is. Let's go ahead and sort again. Alright. Of course, we have 2 Hazarets. Hazaret's just a wonderful haste creature. 5/4 indestructible, gets around most removal. And our hand is going to be empty most of the time. As you know, as a burn player, or if you're not a burn player, the point is to get as much damage early as we can before our opponent can stabilize. Hazaret lends really well to this strategy. We do have Hazaret's other ability, 2 in a red, discard a card, Hazaret deals 2 damage to each opponent. That lends even more to its own ability while burning as well. My favorite creature in this deck, and this guy's going to get a preview pane, Glorybringer. 3/2 red, 4/4 flying haste. And then you can exert Glorybringer as it attacks. When you do, it deals 4 damage to target non-dragon creature an opponent controls. Now remember, the damage happens before the attack, so this removes blockers, and is also just a good way to get pressure off of you while you burn your opponent down. Glorybringers are wonderful. They're one of my favorite creatures out of Amonkhet, and they're wonderful in Standard. Bedlam Reveler is the last creature in our deck, and what this does is when we're out of gas and say we still need that last, say, maybe 4 points of damage, Bedlam Reveler lets us draw 3. Plus, it's a pretty big body. While it is 6 and 2 red, its ability lets it come into the battlefield a little earlier. Bedlam Reveler costs 1 less to cast for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. And it has prowess, and when Bedlam Reveler enters the battlefield, discard your hand, draw 3 cards. So there are many lines of play where you have maybe a Fiery Temper or 2 in your hand, and you play Bedlam Reveler. Well, now you're getting madness triggers, and your Fiery Tempers essentially become lightning bolts. And you'll notice with this deck maximizes how good Fiery Temper is, such with things like Collected Defiance, Bedlam Reveler, Hazaret, Tormenting Voice. While we're at it, let's go ahead and go over our spells. So we went over Fiery Temper. At 3 damage with a Madness of 1, so if it gets discarded from your hand anyway, you can cast it for 1 red instead of 1 and 2 red. These essentially are lightning bolts in art. Very, very, very seldom do I cast it for 1 and 2 red. What I'll mainly do though is cast it for the 1 red, and it's lightning bolt in standard. It's a really, really awesome card. Then we have our lightning axes, which again works with Fiery Temper. Lightning axe, I'll just go ahead and preview paint this bad boy too. As an additional cost to cast lightning axe, discard a card or pay 5. So we're always going to be discarding a card, hopefully a Fiery Temper. Lightning axe deals 5 damage to target creature. This is in here for 2 reasons. One, it is a great way to get rid of big creatures such as our opponent's Glorybringers, or Ishkana, or any number of creature that is really, really pressuring us while we're trying to build up enough burn to kill our opponent. Also, with Soulscar Mage, like I said before, it becomes a dismember, so you can get rid of pesky things like the God, which, especially with Hazard and Ronan, is becoming more and more desirable. It's definitely what you want to do. It also can make a Torrential Gearhulk, which has become quite popular, basically useless. Then we have Shock, which is your basic 1 red, deal 2 damage to target creature player instant. So we're running 4 of those, 4 Incendiary Flows. Now, Incendiary Flow is not an instant, so it's one of our slower burns, but 3 damage to target creature player. And the more important thing is if a creature dies this way, exile it instead. This is our hedge against the zombie menace that's been running around standard. This is how we beat them. Also for Mardu, a great way to get rid of that Scrap Heap Scrounger that keeps coming back. Incendiary Flow is the way to deal with it. And it's just 3 damage, so if we draw it off the top and our opponent's low, it's great to have. Next up is Tormenting Voice. When you're playing red, as many people can attest, you will run low. Your hand will run low. We use Tormenting Voice for multiple reasons. We use it to fill our hand back up. We use it to discard Fiery Temper, turn into a lightning bolt. Many, many reasons. Also, it's a spell, so it interacts very well with Thermo-Alchemist, as do all of our spells. And it interacts with Bedlam Reveler, putting 1 to 2 instants or sorceries into our graveyard, making Bedlam Reveler cheaper. Then we have Collected Defiance, 1 and 2 red, Escalate for 1, which is pay the cost for each mode chosen beyond the first. Choose 1 or more. Target player discards all the cards in his or her hand, and draws that many. That mode is usually what we'll be aiming at ourselves. We aim it at ourselves to discard like Fiery Tempers, or let's say we are just running out of cards and we have Collected Defiance like 3 mountain and we don't need those mountains. Aim Collected Defiance at ourselves and draw 3 new cards. Then we have Collected Defiance deals 4 damage to target creature. That is a great way to get creatures off the board, especially with Soulscar Mage. Collective Defiance deals 3 damage to target player, so it's a burn as well. Normally, you'll be casting Collective Defiance as just 1 and 2 red, empty your hand, draw new hand. That's essentially what we do. But if you do get near the late game, you can use it for all 3 modes or 2 modes, and it's just a really, really versatile card. Then, Burn from Within is a little on the spicy side. Burn from Within is essentially our Fireball, X and red. Burn from Within deals X damage to target creature or player. If a creature is dealt damage this way, it loses indestructible until end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Wow, that sounds like it deals with a lot of different decks. Deals with zombie cards, it deals with gods, it deals with all the things that really bother us. Also, it's just a fireball to the face near the end of the game. So, it's a great top deck, and it's also great to just have in your hand for inevitability. So, that's why it's in there. So, that is our main board. Let's look at our sideboard real quick. So, we have 4 Magma Sprays. Magma Spray being just like Incendiary Flow, in the sense that it deals 2 damage to a creature, and how it's like Incendiary Flow is if a creature dies this way, dies this turn, exile it instead. So, that's our Scrap Heap Scrounger answer. That's our zombie answers. Then we have Harness Lightning. We want Harness Lightning in case we have an aggro deck that is really pushing us hard. Harness Lightning is great against most of your Teamer energy aggro decks. It's going to be really good against bringing in against Mardu vehicles. Then we have 1 Nahiri's Wrath for those control decks that are running a bunch of Planeswalkers. It's also good to bring in against Nahiri itself. And remember, you can discard Fiery Temper to it, so it really is a bit of a combo there. We have Sweltering Suns. This is, again, another hedge against zombies. It's a hedge against certain token decks that have started popping up. and it's just a great sweeper. We don't run very many creatures, and some of the ones we do run are either bigger than what Sweltering Suns deals damage, or has prowess, and we can get that creature big enough. Remember, if Soulscar Mage is on the field and we deal 3 damage, that's 3 -1/-1 counters if we keep Soulscar Mage alive. Then we have by force. This is just how we have this. Instead of running 3 Release the Gremlins, which is great against Mardu vehicles and all your random artifact decks, I use by force in case we run into any of those decks that want to run the SRAM life gain combo, or that want to dump a bunch of little artifacts onto the field. This is a great way to stop that. Just destroy X target artifacts. It's simple, it's clean, it doesn't leave us a guy, but it gets rid of more artifacts for a better price than Release the Gremlins does. Release the Gremlins is great against Mardu vehicles where we only have to deal with 1 or 2 artifacts at a time. So that is our sideboard, and that is Mono Red Burn.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button below. Also catch the next video coming up. I'm Justin for Epic Game Time. You've been my Epic viewers. I hope you all do